I'm rocking with G-Sportz.
Preview.
Y'all coming off a big win on Saturday night at Joe Union Stadium against John Curtis and that prominent program that's been pretty consistent over the last 20 plus years. But y'all was able to take them down after being down 26-14 at the half. Coach, talk about the win, how big that was for your program, and just being one of the two black public schools in the state of Louisiana to ever beat John Curtis.
No, I appreciate you having me on, but I never really thought about it like that. I never really thought about being a black school that's playing John Curtis. When the last time they lost to a public school, that never even crossed our mind. That never even was a topic in staff meeting. What was a topic in staff meeting was that John Curtis is a great program, one of the nation's best programs. Coach JT and I have a great relationship, and we talked in pregame about how well we thought the game was about to be played, and that it was going to be a full quarter game. And our biggest concern was getting out of the game healthy. But hats off to them, man. They played with great guts and great determination, especially responding to us after we went down and took the lead with Aaron's catch, and then they went right back down and scored in less than a minute and a half. But my guys really, stayed the course, and hats off to the whole entire coaching staff who really was preaching that all week, the same message that we talked about in staff meeting, that it was going to be a full quarter game. And, we just stuck with the game plan. We knew some stuff we were going to have in that type of situation. That's why we practiced so hard. But, it was a great game, just one game. That game doesn't decide if you're going to go to the state championship or win the state championship. It does test your guts. It tests your determination. It tests your will. Playing Catholic and Warren Easton, two other outstanding programs, all those games have been tough. But, we don't think about just being a black school doing it. We think about being one of the best programs in the state, or if not the nation, and continue to show that based on what we're doing and not what we're saying.
And I know you don't pay attention to these kind of things, but people in the outside world do. You beat Curtis as a player back in 2002, and then you come back and beat him as a coach. I mean, I don't know anybody else in the state of Louisiana that can say that except the guys on your coaching staff, like Norman Randall, Brennan Harris, Jared Jones, and those guys. But when you sit down and think about that, beating him as a player and as a coach, I don't even know if JT realizes that. What does that mean for you and your coaching staff?
I didn't realize it until you just said it. Gee, you know me. Listen, I can't barely remember last week, with the game planning and, dealing with the kids every day and the issues that they're dealing with. And, we're in school now, so I really don't have time to go backwards to think about or reminisce about, all those great games we played against John Curtis, but all of them have been great games, and we've only been able to beat them twice in probably 20 years. So other games have been closer than usual, but we play them because it tests your theories and your beliefs, and because they're building champions, we're building champions, so, it's just a good game. It's a good game. I never thought about beating them as a player. I couldn't even tell you how we beat them. I know it was a good game, but that's not something that I'm reflecting on. I'm more about the how. A lot of outside people, they don't know me personally. So if you knew me personally, you'll be like, yeah, he's not worrying about that. But if you don't know me, you can formulate your own opinion, which is fine too. So, either way, it doesn't matter to me.
I think one of the things that why John Curtis has been so successful is because the consistency from their coaching staff. And that's one thing I noticed about the staff over there at Karr. You keep most of your staff intact through the years. I mean, even when Coach DeLuke was there, some of them guys, a lot of them guys are still on that staff. And since you've been a head coach through these 5 years, most of those guys are still on your staff. You might have 1 or 2 guys that leave. I know one of your lead assistants, Nick Foster, left and took the head coaching job at St. Aug, but for the most part, you got that nucleus intact. What has been the remedy to keeping those guys intact? You know, when you in high school football, there's so many different moving parts every year where you got to have damn near a new coaching staff, but you've been able to keep everybody intact. What's been the remedy to that?
I think if you look at any successful program, you really gonna see coaches who have been intact. If you look at Warren Easton, you know, a lot of their co-coaches have stayed. Catholic, a lot of their co-coaches have stayed. John Curtis, a lot of their co-coaches have stayed. So those are the teams who play us very closely because, number one, they know what we're doing, and they know how to scheme against us. And that takes a lot of loyalty to stay at a program like Easton, Karr, Curtis, and you have so many other opportunities to go coach somewhere else. But, you know, I think my guys are very loyal. I appreciate everything that they do because, you know, the philosophy at Karr is the position coach is the head coach of their room. You know, I'm not trying to dictate or tell coaches what to do. You know, I'll be the first one to tell you, defense against Catholic, we played defense against Catholic. Live snaps that I watched live during the game probably were 5 snaps. You know, I believe totally in what T. Howard is doing and Brennan and Norman and Jared and Coach BJ and Coach Dwayne, Coach Shaq, Coach Noel. I believe, you know, Nick Watkins, you know, all those guys, you know, they do a great job of preparing the kids, number one, but I think they do an even outstanding job with reaching their kids. And that's why you see those kids play so hard, because they're playing so hard, not only for the program, but for their coach. And because the coach is giving them more than X's and O's. The coach is concerned about what's going on at home. Are they eating? Are they doing their homework? Are they doing this? You know, it's bigger than that football, but, you know, we'll get into that. Our goal is to, when we practicing, our main goal is to make sure that when we finish practicing that our kids going home. So we don't want to leave them with idle time because, you know, out of mind, you can do a lot of crazy stuff. So what we do is and a lot of people think that we practice 24 periods every day and we just go at it all day. Don't practice like that at all. Especially, you know, when we get to the month of, you know, like we're in the middle of October and November, we'll start shutting it down. We'll do more weights. We'll focus on more recovery, more stretching, more hydrating. You know, you have to be in it to really know. But that's really it. You know, it's the buy-in to that we don't want to lose kids to going doing something crazy, going in the streets, going to hang with this person when they could have been at practice, going to do this, going to do that. And do we save them all? Gee, no. You know, it's kids that we lose, and you know, it's kids that sometimes, you know, basically we fail sometimes. And that's one of the hardest parts about this job is failing, because we teach success on and off the field. So if we feel we failed the kid, man, we would think more about that situation than winning the state championship. It's so many times. So where we've been in staff meeting, you've been in now, you've heard it. You know, those kids' name come up more than the kids who are successful. And it's because, you know, we care. We care. And that's the hard part when we can't help these kids. We can't succeed, that we do lose some kids to that type of stuff. And that's the most unfortunate part. And that's the stuff that keep me up at night, is especially when we lose a kid. You know, that's the toughest part.
all this stem from? Like, where were you taught along the way to be this way as a coach, and how to be a father figure and mentor, and just understanding how to gravitate toward these kids and relate to them on so many different levels? I'm not even talking about football right now. What does this stem from? What were you taught along the way? Who is responsible for how you think and your thought process with all of this?
I think everybody's responsible, from my parents to my uncles to my grandfather to my grandmother to, uncles that I had in the cutoff growing up and stuff like that, teaching you small life lessons about what to do, what not to do, making mistakes, learning from mistakes. Coach Luke was a huge part of it, especially on the coaching scope of things. What does that mean? What does coaching mean? What is it really entail? Is it really about X's and O's? Is it about reaching before you teach them? Is it, that's the things that was, embedded in me, especially by Coach Luke on the coaching plane, especially. I remember my first year working with him. He used to make me shadow him during the summertime, going to this house, going to help this kid, going here. So it was like, oh man, he's doing all of this, and he was doing it by himself. So what we did, we wound up losing in the first round that year. And what we did after that, he was just like, man, let's strip it down and let's start over. Let's get people in who believe in the same things and the same beliefs that we believe in. And that's how it all started. That's how it all started, was the ability to say, listen, what we're doing is good. It's just not good enough. The people we have around are good. They're just not good enough. And that sometimes is the most difficult part, is being a leader, is to identify, to accept it, and then correct it. So that's a big part of leadership.
I hate to keep saying this, but I gotta say it because I know you don't pay attention to the outside noise. But the outside world were calling the Edna Karr program the Buffalo Bills at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knew, they can get there. They can get to the state championship, or they can make deep runs in the playoffs, but they can't win it. For some reason, they just can't win it. What's going on? I mean, they got the talent, they can't win it though. What's the problem? And then your first year as a head coach, I'll never forget it. You started off 0-3. And I remember watching you, I think the third game was Brother Martin. Was it Brother Martin that made y'all 0-3?
Yeah.
Brother Martin, you play against Bruce Swilling and them guys, who was a hell of a running back. And I watched, not what you said, but I watched your body language and your facial expressions. And it's just, I could tell that it put you in a place like, I got to reset this whole thing. But I personally think that was the turning point in your head coaching career, that Brother Martin game when y'all went 0-3. You correct me if I'm wrong when I say that, but what happened after that game? Because after that game, and I know y'all lost in the state championship that year, but after that game, I think y'all went 12 in a row, 11 in a row, or something like that, and lost another in the state championship. But I thought that was the turning point in your head coaching career, and why y'all are successful to the day.
Man, I'm gonna tell you a quick story. I know Nick gonna laugh if he watched this. Nick, my boy. Nick. He over there at St. Aug now. But I remember we lost to Brother Martin. That was a great game. I think it was 44-41. That was a great game. But I remember we was driving back to the school after the game, and he was like, "Man, you 0-3 your first year as a head coach." He was like, "Man, they should have just hired anybody if he was gonna do this." So, it was a real light moment where we started laughing. So I would say, "Well, you just as guilty. You're supposed to be my top guy." So, so I said, "Look, man, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna take a couple of days off. We're gonna get the boys a couple of days off, and we're gonna do some team building." And I said, come up with some ideas where we could do some team building stuff, because if we losing in the fourth quarter all these games, that means that we're not totally together. that we still kind of apart. So he scheduled some team building stuff, and we had some intense close scrimmages during that bye week, because you got to remember we had a bye week after that, and man, that probably was one of the toughest weeks since I've been coaching. After that bye week, when we went 0-3, every day was full scrimmage, tackle to the ground. But then after that, we'll feed the kids and we'll have little talks and open flow discussions and stuff like that. And that, to be honest with you, that's what happened. We didn't change our schedule. We changed how we did it. More intensity, more enthusiasm, more meetings, more study hall, more everything.
What's your
that was a funny story with Nick. He, we crossed in the bridge, and he said, "Man, you starting out 0-3. You're not doing too good."
You got to make a lot of the situation in a when you're going through something like that.
Yeah, you do. You got to take the good with the bad.
Right. What's your response to, a lot of people feel that with your success over the last 4 years, and I know you ain't gonna say it, but I'm gonna say it. I just don't see nobody beating y'all in 4 years this year, in my personal opinion. So if you win, you're on your way to winning 5 in a row. I know you don't want to count the eggs before they hatch, but a lot of people feel like you're overqualified for high school football. A lot of people feel, and I've heard this from a number of college coaches. They feel like that college football has been waiting for you. And I know you've had some opportunities in the past that you kind of turned down and kind of stuck and stayed at your alma mater. What's your response to that? People feeling like that you need to be in college football and that you're overqualified for what you're doing right now at Edna Karr.
Number one, I appreciate that sentiment, but this is my life. I'm gonna live it how I want to, and I think nobody is overqualified to deal with 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds, because you never know what's going to happen with them. You never know. So sometimes the timing has been off with a college offer. Sometimes it doesn't fit. Yes, I've had opportunities to go, but most times the timing wasn't perfect. The timing was off. We had started all season. If it was something, that I didn't believe in was somebody else's core beliefs. It's all kind of stuff like that. So you can't factor in, everybody wants to, extend their career and go up in level and stuff like that, but, even if I have those aspirations, it's based on my time when I feel comfortable with doing it. And, that's the only thing I focus on. So many people look at this program like it's a professional team. It's high school football. Our main objective here is to motivate and educate. We dealing with a team that's 100% African American. We don't have time to think about our own personal ambitions. Our job is to make sure that, number one, our kids go to college. Number two, if they don't choose to go to college, what's next for them? What's next? Because college isn't for everybody. But I think we can't get lost in that. This is still high school. This is a really good high school team. This is a really good high school team who sets the bar to the highest of standards. Yes. But the day we start putting ourselves over our mission is the day that we're going to fail. We have to put sacrifice before our own personal beliefs, and that's the same thing. You open up the Bible and you can learn that it's not about yourself. It's about the sacrifice that you're willing to give to others, and you're gonna receive that back tenfold. So if you keep approaching it that way, then you'll have greater success in your life, in your career. But but to put yourself above your own mission, your own core beliefs, then that's when we'll start failing.
You preaching to the choir when you
So
say
I hope
that.
that answers your question.
Yeah, you definitely preaching to the choir when you say that. But before it's all said and done, when you ready to say, I'm done coaching, or when guys ready to call you home, what's your end game, Coach Brice? What's your end game before it's all said and done?
I don't know. I don't know my end game. Coach Lou get on me all the time about having a 5-year plan, having this. I can't. My job doesn't allow you to think 5 years from now. My job only allows me to think today, tomorrow.
So you wouldn't want coach like
today? We have to fix it.
So you have no aspirations to ever coach. You have no aspirations to ever coach in the NFL or college football. Like, you have no aspirations for that.
Oh, yeah, I do. That would be crazy for me to get on here and say I don't, but is it time for that right now? Man, only God knows that. We're not in control of this thing, G. We're not in control of this thing. We are only pawns on this board. We are only pawns on this board. So I think, it's I know you we talk about this all the time, so I know you just want a direct answer. This is one of the one questions I can't give you a direct answer to, because you know what I'm focused on? What's the practice schedule today? As I'm sitting here doing this interview with you right now, I'm trying to think about, as I'm talking to you, how I want this practice schedule today. If I'm going to put the boys in full equipment, or I'm going to let them go half shell. That's what I'm thinking about right now, and I'm not lying to you. I'm not thinking about taking a job in the NFL or college. I'm thinking about, man, how can we get better today? Do I want to make them suckers lift weights? Do I want to get on that field? That's what I'm thinking about right now.
Right. But
I'm educated answer as I'm thinking about something as I'm talking to you.
And I can appreciate that. Right. And I can appreciate that. I can appreciate that.
To you straight.
I think it's 8 or 9 Under Armour All-Americans.
I can't remember. How many is it?
I think it's 9. I could be wrong. Might be more, might be less. But I know it's been a good bit. They have a lot of schools don't even have one Under Armour All-American in the history of the school. Mm-hmm. When you dealing with those kind of top tier athletes, especially in this day and age with social media, and you got so many people telling them how good they are, and these kids have egos out of this world. But you've done a good job. You and your staff that's done a good job of being able to maintain those egos and still keep it about the team. For the coaches and some of the programs that's going to watch this Zoom, what's some tricks to the trade to be able to keep kids in line and not let their egos get too big when you're dealing with those kind of kids that's 4-star, 5-star, Under Armour All-Americans, and got damn near every off in the country?
Coach the best one, the hardest. That's what we do. I mean, that might not fit somebody else's program. Where you could go somewhere and their best athlete does what they want. They don't have to be on time for practice. They're the first one to leave the field. Here, if you're a captain, you one of the top tier guys, you're gonna be coached the hardest. You're gonna be pushed the hardest, and you're gonna be required to do more, not less. You're gonna be required to do more if it's in the building, if it's on the field, you're going to be required to do more. So I think that's the key part to, our captain process is a strenuous one, especially if you were a captain and if former captains listen to this now, they'll understand that, the process in which they have to go through with the interviews and the months and weeks it takes to become a captain here at Karr. You are supposed to be the model. You are supposed to be the example. And that's what makes it difficult sometime to play here is the standard of previous captains, is the standard of previous teams, and that's how it gets fueled. Because let's say we won a championship in 2019. That was the graduating class of 2020. That's based on their captain, their leadership, and their top tier guys, right? So what does the next team do? The next team wants to what? They want to do it better,
right,
than they did it. They have a better record. They want better. They want to wear a better set of different uniforms. They want everything to look different from that previous team. They want their process to be different. What happens in 2019 might not happen in 2018. Might not what happened in 2017. All these teams have looked different. And I know before you mentioned like the Buffalo Bills, if people on the outside were saying that, well, imagine what we were saying on the inside. When we lost with Tonka in overtime, we lost and we lost a good enough team in 2011. Then we finally got over the hump in 2012, right? So all those teams were different. They're not different. It's the same name across our chest. It's Karr, right? But when you add football at the end of it, Karr football, all those teams look different. Do we have the same pillars every year of the program when it comes to discipline, dedication, determination? Yes, they do. How does that look, though? How does that look? It's different every year. So my advice to any program that's out there listening to this would be, man, you don't try to mock what somebody does, because what's working at Karr works at Karr. Might not work at another school, might not work at another institution, but it works here. So you got to find what works for your organization, for your team, for your school, because once you get buy-in, either it's going to get better or it's going to get worse. So if it get worse, that means the stuff that you asking the kids to buy into was what? Wrong. If it gets better, that means the things that we did was what? Correct. So once we build on that correction, what we got to do? We got to identify it, we got to accept it, then we got to correct it. So if everybody keep doing that, and I'm talking about holistically, I'm talking about from the head coach to the assistant coaches to the captains to the players. It all has to trickle down. It all has to trickle down. That same message. If you got a message of the week that we want constant, consistent communication every snap, that's the message of the week, right? So who is in charge of getting that message out? Is it me? Yeah, but no. Yeah, but no. Who is in charge of that? The assistant coaches. Who's in charge of that? Captains. Who's in charge of that? Position leaders. That's how you get buy-in. That's how you get buy-in. Constant, consistent communication, because nobody should walk into the facility. Oh, we don't know what we done today. What we got today? What color shorts we in? Man, when you report to Edna Karr football, everybody gonna be in the same color shorts and the same color shirt every day. How does that happen though? How do you get that to look like that? Constant, consistent communication.
I did a Zoom interview with Coach Jaluk about a month ago, and he talked about, and I know I just kind of said this in a prior question, but it's a little different. He talked about your last year at Grambling State, how you would drive all the way from Grambling to come home to coach. And like I say, y'all not getting paid a whole lot of money, and that coach high school football. That sacrifice to drive from Grambling State every weekend to come down there and coach and do the different things that Coach Jaluk wanted you to do to build that program, because he saw something in you. Talk about that sacrifice and what made you want to go to that extent, to come back to help your alma mater. I mean, what was it? I mean, did you know before you left Grambling State, when you was playing, I know I want to go back to my alma mater and be a coach and possibly be a head coach one day? Like, just tell me through your thought process back then.
Man, I didn't think about that kind of stuff in so long. But you just don't have time to sit down and reflect sometime. And I'm guilty of this. I always tell my boys, you always got to have reflection. But sometimes in my line of work, we don't have time to reflect. It's always about the now. It's always about creating or obtaining an answer. So, driving back from Graham, man, that was crazy. I don't know how the hell I was doing that. I
Like,
was way.
yeah. So like, take take me through that. I want to know the schedule.
Yeah, my last year on campus, because I actually finished with an internship in New Orleans, and that was my last semester. Then I graduated, so I really was in New Orleans for technically my last semester in college. But on campus, the year prior to that, I think I had Tuesday, Thursday scheduled, and I might have had one class on Monday. So I would hit that. I had an 8 o'clock on Monday. So after that 8 o'clock on Monday, I would get with the professor, do all the work for Monday and Wednesday, right? So I would be done with that Monday, Wednesday, Friday class based off of that week. So I would get on the road about 9. I'll make it to New Orleans about 1:30, 2 o'clock. Call got out of school at 3:30. So I'll be getting straight off the road from there, do game plan stuff with coach at about 4 o'clock, and then go straight to the field, and then then leave right after the game, go back on campus, finish all the work. And then it all depends on what the schedule was for that week. So if I needed to stay on Tuesdays, I'd say I had a Tuesday, Thursday class with a lot of my major classes on. But a lot of that stuff was based online and stuff like that. So if I need to go on campus on Tuesday, I would stay on campus at Graham Monday and Tuesday. And then I would drive after class on Tuesday, make it to practice after that, then do the work for the class on Thursday down here, then I will go back.
Talk about moving into the new school, getting a 50-yard turf field, and what has that done for the Edna Karr program going forward?
Well, it's a full field. It's with a full field, full track. So
it's not 50. It's not just 50 yards.
Put the other 4 lanes. Oh no, it's full. It's full.
Okay.
It's full. Man, that was all on that was all Inspire NOLA. That was all them, man. They fit the bill for that, and they supported us through our mission as well. Trying to create the best buildings, the best facilities. 35 has a great building. McMain went through renovation. So, they do a good job with stuff like that.
I noticed this year, I don't know if anybody else has noticed it, but I noticed this year, you don't have a number 7 out there on that field this year, Coach. I don't know if you want to touch on this subject. I know you like to keep a lot of things in-house, but this might be the first time in I don't know how many years I haven't seen a number 7 on the football field. And the call.
Yes.
What's your response to not having a number 7 on the football field this year in the call?
Who am I responding to? Am I responding to the people who wanted number 7, or am I responding to you, or am I responding to the public?
To me.
To you. Okay, there we go. I'm just trying to be clear. This must be one of your questions. All right, so
definitely.
Number 7. All right, number 7. Number 7 is a huge number at Karr. In order to wear the number 7, you have to be voted unanimously by every single coach or staff member in the program. I'm talking about from Tiger to the trainer to Coach Dennis to every assistant coach. Every single person has to vote for you for number 7. None. Is it disappointing that we don't have a number 7? Yes, but we are in unprecedented times right now. So, are we willing to sacrifice skipping steps in order to satisfy giving somebody the number, just giving it to them, opposed to making sure they go through the process of getting it? For me, my answer is no. Just because we're going through a pandemic right now, should we feel sorry and just put our tail between our legs and just give somebody the number 7. No, they have to go through the same processes as every other number 7 has gone through. And if that take for the number 7 to have to be waited to be passed out until the state playoffs, that's what it's going to take. If it doesn't get passed out, are we willing to accept that? Yes, because we are not willing to skip steps. We are not willing to. It's just like if you install an offensive play on first day of install. Now, your first play of install is trip, strike, stick, right? So the first thing you're teaching the quarterback, the zone read versus man read, right? The progression, out to stick, right? If it's man, you want to take the shot on the 9. So the next quarterback you get, are you going to just say, man, listen, you should know this already? Run stick, run trip right stick without going through the proper installation of the play, right? So you're not going to do that as a coach, so right? So why would we do that as a captain passing out the number 7? Don't skip steps. Keep your same routine every year. Does it look different from 2019? Yes. That's because this is not 2019 no more. This is 2020. So whatever is best for the team, what's best for the team right now is that we don't have a number 7. If we eventually get a number 7, will it make the team better? Yes. Are we willing to sacrifice the process? No.
Makes sense.
That's you. I know you've been upset about not getting the number 7 out there, so I'm sorry to let you down.
A lot of people ask me all the time about the numbers at Karr. I'm talking about I've gotten asked this question. I don't know how many times. I'll probably be rich if I counted them. Like if I had $1 every time somebody asked me that. Everybody want to know what's up with the 5, what's up with 2. Why the DB always got 4? You know, I know Aaron wearing 4, but most of the time it's always on the defensive side of the ball. 10 at linebacker, 44 at DN, 90. You know what I'm saying? Where all this came from with the numbers and the significance behind the numbers? I mean, I don't know too many programs. I don't think I know any programs with that much significance behind their numbers and being able to carry it on as a tradition like y'all been doing.
That's a good question. You know, we mixed a little bit with the old with some new stuff. When Coach Jalou, after Hurricane Katrina, we first got back, he said, man, Brice, let's blend some old traditions and let's start some new ones. So the newer ones were, and this was way back in 2006 now. So that was number 2, number 7, but numbers from the past was 44. If it was 13, if it was, you know, number 11 was retired, if it was 10, you know, stuff like that. So we kept some of those and we infused the top 10, which is a newer tradition, not newer, but I mean, it's 16 years old now, but whatever. But, you know, we infused some old stuff with some new stuff, you know, more for some legacies type stuff, or if it's the number 2, what it represent, opposed to what 5 represent, opposed to what 7 represent, opposed to what 10 represent. All of those numbers represent something that only the people in the program really know about. So, you know, the number 2, if it's number 1, number 3, all those numbers got different meanings. So
right.
It's very interesting. So when they are awarded the number, they are told what that number represents. So if they are a candidate for that number, so it's all kind of kids are up for those numbers. So if it's number 5, it's going to go down to the top 3 people who are for number 5, and you know they are taught what number 5 really means, what it means, and then that's how they embrace the number. That's how they embrace the number. So when you see some guys out there, if you're in the top 10, that means you know the meaning of your number, you know why you received that number, and you know the history of that number. If you got a traditional legacy number, which is like 44 and stuff like that, then you understand the number, you understand why you were given that number as well.
That's incredible.
It interesting.
Yeah, it's incredible when you think about it, because people ask me this all the time. And Like people are so intrigued about the numbers and they now people starting to like say to themselves, all right, I see 7 must be the guy on defense. I see 2 on offense. He must be the guy on offense. So like people starting to kind of put it together. 10 at linebacker.
Absolutely correct about that.
Yeah, people starting to kind of put it together. But what they really wanted to know was, what does it really mean? I know he's supposed to be one of the best players, but they trying to figure out what is the significance behind that particular number.
It's like you good. Well, you're getting better with asking your questions too. You went back because you really want me to take a number. You want me to explain it to you, and that's fair. I get that. Let's take. I'll bite. I'll take it. I'll take your question. I usually wouldn't do this for nobody else. Let's say the number 10. The number 10 character is the communicator. He is a person who gives the defense a signal. He is a person that communicates everything. So if you see the number 10 now, you will see him being very active in doing stuff like that. You will see him getting the defensive calls from T. Howard. You will see him in the building, getting that communication every day from the head coach or the coach that's over the captains. You will see that communication consistently because that's his job. That's his job, even though he's a top 10 player, right? He's a top 10 player, and yes, he's talented, but he has roles and responsibilities in which another player does not. So saying that, with the numbers, each of them is a character, and they have different roles and responsibilities on the team. And some of the roles and responsibilities are very interesting. But number 10 is one that is easily to tell you because it's easily to see if you really pay attention to the captain line or something like that. Well, you'll see number 10 is the one who's communicating everything, and he really is the glue that holds it all together, especially on the defensive side of the ball. If he's declaring the strength, if he's giving a signal, if he's doing, So it's not always a linebacker. Brian Anderson wore number 10 from the secondary, and he was a good number 10 as well.
Right. How, is it hard for those kids to be able to handle those kind of responsibilities? We talking about 16, 17, 18-year-olds that's being asked to be a consistent communicator, being able to be a leader, being able to hold a certain standard. Do you find that it's difficult for some kids to be able to hold that kind of responsibility at that age?
No, we haven't seen anybody who wasn't able to fulfill their character or their role or their responsibility. I would say this to you in that we don't approach our thought process of thinking about failure. So saying that, we're not meeting saying, okay, Torrey Morgan is number 10. We're not saying he can't do it. We are saying to him, he can do it. He can do it. So once he is given that number, he understands that number 1, he is that guy. And number 2, we believe in him totally. And he knows if he needs help, he can call anybody for help. And that's the key. We don't think about the things that he can't do. We think about the things that he can do. Because so many times with these kids growing up, they're told, you're not going to do this, you're not going to do that, you can't do this, you can't do that. Why you can't? How are we thinking about failure before we even have the task or we even have the ability to go and do it? How are we thinking about failure before we even try? Right? So even if he had trouble with it, he's going to be in the best situation to where he succeeds to obtain success. Why? Because he's going to have the full support of everybody. Everybody, if it comes from coaches, if it comes from his position coach, from the head coach to the position coach, to the other captains that's on the line, to the other top 10 numbers, he has help. So if he slip up with something, they're going to pick him up. they're gonna help them. I mean, that's just a part of what the top 10 represent. You know, they have to stick together. So I mean, that's the basic message right there. So if you want to know anything about being a captain or a top 10 number, if you stick together, you're gonna probably win the state championship. If you fall apart, you're probably gonna lose.
We gotta do this again sometime, Coach.
Yeah, I like your graphics. You really getting better with all of this. You got the G-Sportz in the back. I really like seeing that. That's good.
It's all about elevating, Coach. It's all about elevating.
Now you just got to take it higher.
got to. Edna Karr head coach Brice Brown, man. Ball game.